Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Waharakah Kadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Now, I just had a situation that just came up, a family member, you had, they work in the medical industry and, they've been putting pressure on them to take the vaccination for quite a while now. And pretty much today, they were put in a situation where they said either you take it or they're going to send you home, basically. And under that pressure, they took it. Um, so, that's that. Now, we're not saying that's the mark of the beast or anything, but, you've now allowed this man to insert unknown chemicals and whatever the hell they've got in this thing. You can do your own research into your body. Okay. um that's not a good idea. That's not a good plan, okay, in my opinion. Especially when you really didn't want to do it. The only reason you're doing it is for the sake of money, for the sake of the job, which is, again, not a great plan. I made a video previously, so I'm going to get the scripture. Matthew 10:16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Right? And in the video I made before, I explained that when you got to know what your employer can and can't do when you get a job. There's a reason why you sign a contract. The contract is not only to protect the employer in terms of laying down your duty towards the employer, it also lays down your employer's duty towards you and what they can and can't do. Okay. And a lot of times you find a lot of people get taken advantage of it within the workplace because they don't know employment law. They don't know the details of their contract. They don't understand. So a lot of times employers will take advantage of them. And especially naive people, even in the workplace where I work, right? A lot of people came in with the same contract as me. So, but you'll find that the new people that come in, even though they come in under a different contract, the employer would try, or manager or whatever, would try and take the piss out of them, basically. And then you got to put them up in game and say, hold on, no, they can't do that. Yeah, that's not in the contract, or and then they wise up, and then the supervisor can't play them games anymore, because what they do is try and prey on your ignorance and put pressure on you, especially if you're in a situation where you're on probation. So you feel like if you don't do everything they say, then they can fire you. Like, no, just because you're on probation doesn't mean that you have to do whatever they say. You still have a contract. You understand what I'm saying? There's still lines that have to be drawn. All right, lines that you shouldn't have to cross, right? And if they do that and they dismiss you based upon that, then you could deal with them, right? That's what the union's there for. But you got to be wise as a serpent. Now, in regards to this vaccination thing, if unless when you've which I'm going to read it, unless when you've signed up to your job, it is in the contract to back up them making it mandatory for you to take the vaccination, it's not mandatory. All right. They could say what they want to do. They can put what pressure they want on you, but it's not mandatory. And I'm pretty sure if this family member had called up an employment lawyer, right, they could have had this situation sorted out quick, fast. And the employer would have had to make a concession and mitigate the risks through other measures, which is what they're doing right now. If you're working in a workplace and they're bringing in extra cleaning and whatever the case things they're doing, that's mitigating the risk, and that's all they're entitled to do, especially when it comes to health and safety. You can never completely remove risk in the workplace, but you can mitigate for that risk and reduce the risk as much as you can, and that's all they're entitled to do. So let's read this. It says coronavirus no job policies may be legal for new staff, right? Because guess what? If they bring in new staff, they can put it in the contract for the new staff. But if you've already got a contract, they can't just come and update that. It says it may be legal for companies to insist on new staff being vaccinated as a condition of their employment, the Justice Secretary has said. However, Robert Buckland said it was unlikely bosses could make existing workers have vaccines under their current contracts. Downing Street has said it would be discriminatory to order people to be vaccinated to keep their job. Do you see? Right? Because you've already got a contract, right? It's not in the contract, so they can't just fire you. That's unfair dismissal about go home. Are you mad? If I'm going to go home, you're going to pay me. What do you think this is? But some firms say they will not hire new staff who refuse to have the jab. In an interview with ITV on Wednesday, Mr. Buckland said compelling new staff to be inoculated could, in theory, be possible if it was written into their contracts. All right. However, employers would probably need to take legal action if existing staff refuse such an order, he said. I think that has to be the case because we're dealing with existing terms of contracts of employment, thousands of existing contracts, he said. He added that the legality of no jab, no job would depend very much on the terms of employment and the particular contract. Generally speaking, I'd be surprised if there were contracts of employment existing now that did make that approach lawful. I think, frankly, the issue would have to be tested. So, right, Salaki, I just got interrupted there. Right, so it says London-based Pimlico plumbers, which remember I did a video when he came out with the whole thing, and I said in the video that this is why he's he's very tentative and he's watching his words when he's talking about this, because he knows that even if they might be able to put it in the new contracts, they're going to have problems with current employees because they didn't have it in the original contract. All right, and any employee that's clued up and really wants to stand their ground, they'll have a problem dismissing them. All right, because there are ways that you can reduce the risk, such as washing your hands. Wash your hands, like my man Reese Mogg said. You know, apparently wearing your mask and these things. All right. It says London-based Pimlico Plumbers is one company that has said it will not hire new staff who have refused the max on non-medical grounds. All right. Employment lawyers initially questioned the move, but on Wednesday, founder Charlie Mullins said he had been advised it was legal. Okay, so they've confirmed that now. We've obviously been talking to lawyers and they're very happy that we can add this proposal to any new workers that start with us once the vaccine is rolled out, he told BBC Radio 4 Today program. All right. We'll be using the new contracts 2 to 3 months from now when people come along for a job with us. If they're not happy to sign that, then again, that's their choice, but they certainly won't be given a job with Pimlico Plumbers. All right. Care home operator Barchester Healthcare has also said all new hires will be obliged to get the jab. Yeah, new hires. But if you're already hired, you got a different contract. Yeah, don't let these people try to pressure you. And it says, with regards to our staff, we are doing all we can to reassure and encourage. Notice the language. Reassure and encourage, because it's still your choice. Those who are a little more reticent to have the vaccine, and we have also ensuring that all new staff must have the vaccination if they medically can before starting work looking after vulnerable residents and patients who are in our care, Barchester Healthcare wrote on it in his website. And basically, right now, you can have an exemption on the religious reasons, okay? But now in the new contracts, they're trying to do away with that exemption on the religious reasons and just stick to the medical. Open to challenge, David Samuels, legal director at law firm Lewis Silkin, said there is nothing legally to stop a business from placing a no jab, no job clause in contracts for new hires. However, he cautions, and listen to this is why I say be wise as serpents. He cautioned that employers would need to analyze each job role and evaluate health and safety risks before introducing such a clause. So even if it's a certain type of job where it's not really high risk, it could be challenged. Okay? Technically, says failure to do so would make it possible to challenge a contract as being unfair or discriminatory if a claimant can prove they are exempt from having the vaccination for some reason or unable to access it. There are concerns, for example, that no job policies would disproportionately affect young people who are last in line to get the max. It's going to be harder to justify, especially if they don't go through the process and document it, and it will be more likely that they will be challenged successfully through a legal claim, Mr. Sanders told the BBC. He added that the firm had received inquiries about whether such a clause could be put in place if the business necessitated some staff to work in the office or in a factory. The Prime Minister's official spokesman has said taking a vaccine is not mandatory and it would be discriminatory to force somebody to take one, right? Because right now the beast hasn't made it mandatory, all right? And that's really where it has to come from in order to get everybody. I had another article, one second. Right, so this is another article. This is from February the 5th, right? It says, no jab, no job, why your employer can't sack you for not taking the, the thing, right? Charlie Mullins, the controversial chief executive of leading London plumbing firm Pimlico Plumbers, recently announced plans, okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's just get straight to the meat and potatoes. What the law says, there are compelling reasons why employers should not introduce a no job. Is this what I want? One second, let me start reading from here. Okay, so some workers may also be unable to accept the vaccination because of religious or other sincerely held beliefs, and others may have contraindications to vaccinations, which would mean their health would be seriously affected if they had to take it. In short, substantial numbers of workers would be unable to comply with a requirement to be vaccinated through no fault of their own. Besides all these issues, there are legal impediments to a no jab, no job policy. The Public Health Control of Disease Act 1984, under which the health regulations have been promulgated, provides that any individual cannot be required to undergo medical treatment, including vaccination. Do you see there? This does not prevent an employer from asking an employee to consent to a contractual requirement to undergo vaccination. So be careful what you sign at work. All right, remember, they cannot make you sign anything except your initial contract, all right, and health and safety training before offering the employee work. But there would always be a question mark over whether consent in such circumstances was freely and voluntarily given. If it was felt that it was not freely given, the 1984 Act would apply. So they need you to consent. They need you to sign a contract, man. Okay? Although there does not appear to be any ruling by the courts directly on this point, there are precedents supporting the view that the lack of positive objection by an employee cannot be equated with consent. An analogy can also be drawn with the legal principle of economic duress, which says that the economic pressure that gives the weaker bargaining party no practical option but to agree to a contract or accept particular terms makes the contract voidable. A case currently pending before the Supreme Court will decide the scope of this principle, where the stronger party generally believes it was entitled to act in the way that it did. Finally, any attempt by an employer to change the terms and conditions of an existing employment contract unilaterally would also almost certainly be a fundamental breach of contract. This would allow the employees to bring a claim for constructive unfair dismissal, in which they would be arguing that they effectively had no choice but to leave the job. Okay? Let's see what else I can. Right. It says, let me show you this bit. It says, there is a defense under the law known as justification, where discrimination by an employer can be permitted if it is a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. Protection of the health of co-workers and customers is undoubtedly a legitimate aim. However, it is difficult to see how forcing employees to undergo a medical procedure, the efficacy of which has yet to be established, would be regarded as proportionate when there are other less draconian means that are arguably more effective, such as working from home, right? So if you're in a job where your work can be done from home, they have to provide you with that option. Okay, social distancing, if you can be socially distanced, they have to provide you with that option. Wearing of face coverings and hand washing. Besides all these issues, changes to contractual terms of employment would raise difficult legal questions about the tensions between the freedom of parties to enter agreements on whatever terms they see fit, the duties are owed by businesses to casual workers, and respect for individual rights to freedom of choice and privacy in health matters. Okay, and we could keep reading. The point of the matter is that don't let these people, don't let your manager just roll up to you and put it on you and pressure you to do something, because he might not have the power to do that. That's up for you to be wise as a serpent and do your research, man. Okay, don't just go and do something that you don't want to do for the sake of money because they're threatening your job. Because a lot of these guys will come with these threats, and if they do make these threats, make sure you receive that threat on paper. Don't just let the man talk and tell you these things. If they're saying you have to take the vaccination, you tell them, okay, I need you to write me a formal letter, right, mandating me to take this vaccination, and then I want you to state the specific consequences that I will have up to and including dismissal, okay, for not following that mandate. Make sure you got it in writing, and then you go and you tell them, okay, I'm gonna go consult my lawyer. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go consult my lawyer. I'm gonna see what's up. Yeah, you gotta be wise, because you see these devils are gonna try and play games. Now we know eventually, as pertaining to the mark of the beast, there ain't gonna be no way out of that except you're gonna have to just because once the government mandate it and they make it like on the governmental level, once they mandate it, then obviously it's a wrap. But like I said, right now it's not mandated by the government, so it's still under the banner of employment law. So you got to be wise. Why are you gonna lose your job, or why are you gonna take something against your will when you don't have to? Yeah, you got to be wise. Okay, but we know the day is gonna come when these things that I'm talking about are not gonna be applicable. But that's not today. So wherever you are, even you brothers that's in America, get clued up on what these people can and can't make you do in the workplace. Don't just don't just make a decision based upon what your manager or your supervisor say or some threat that they make. And like I said, any threat that they make sure you ask them to send you that signed on a signed document. All right, and if they start umming and ahming because they don't want to give you a document which is signed, they know that they're doing bullshit. That's why they don't want it on paper, so that you could sue them. So like I said, anything these men say, make sure you request the paperwork. You understand what I'm saying? All right, be wise, man. Revelations 13 and 15, and he said, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he, which is the government, causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now we believe this to be the implantable RFID chip, or some form of chip, that they're gonna put inside you. Okay, and it could be the rollout of that could be linked to this thing that they got going on, and this thing could escalate and be mandated, and then they can attach the mark onto that. So already know how we feel about these things, man. We're like, to hell with that. But the reason I'm doing this video is for those of you that you're working at the moment and you've got a job. Like I said, it's if you ain't got to lose your job, then obviously, you know what I mean, like, your job is your livelihood at this moment in time. If you ain't got to lose it, then don't lose it. Okay, but you don't jump to rash decisions if you ain't got to make those rash decisions. Okay, get your contract out that you signed and read it and see what it says. Okay, if you got to consult a lawyer, you consult a lawyer. Say, yo, what's up? Or your union, you consult your union. Yo, what's up with this? Like, what they do, what can't they do? And then you make your decision based upon that. You know, if you gotta go, then you gotta go. All right. But if they gotta, if they can't make you go and they gotta keep paying you them checks, then they're gonna have to keep paying you them checks, man. We ain't playing no games. Okay, that's how you gotta be, man. You know, yes, massa over here. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that out real quick because these things, you know, are getting real in the field. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom.